Hello YouTube, I am Matt and welcome to just another drop in the bucket. Welcome back YouTube, I am Matt. We're trying out a new format. Be sure to tell me how you like it in the comments, anything about the sound, how you're experiencing it, whether you like the multi-viewpoint, and what you think about the format of even these pens and the review of what I got. So today, I'm not reviewing all of these pens. This is just a purchase of a couple of them, mostly being these and some of the brands that Anemoia Mercantile sells. So somewhat recently we took a trip all the way up from Orlando to Orange Park where Anemoia Mercantile is, and we got into several new things. The first is going to be these two pens right here, being some vintage Esterbrook Model J's, including the shorter version and the fuller version. I also have several different grades of nibs and either of them respectively, and they're different shapes and sizes that people haven't seen in approximately 60 years. So what I'm going to start off with is just a size comparison of what these type of pens typically look like and what you can compare them to today. So the larger one is still somewhat shorter than the Majon P169, which is one of the shortest pens I own. But as you could see, it's really not even comparable to that because of the girth. So then I come down to something like this, being a Monteverde, Invicta, I believe, or something like that, Invencia. I forget the exact model name, but I think that's my next closest comparison right there. It's still a little bit shorter, but girth, it's still even slimmer than that. And likewise, this is a very old type of acrylic, and you could see in the picture there that it has some level of chatoyance and sheen to it. And also, most importantly, right there coming into your field of view, I think you could just see it in the picture, this is a lever filling pen. So inside is a latex sac that when compressed pushes out all the air, then when you let go, it creates that vacuum which fills up the sac. The most important thing to note when you get into vintage pens is they are mostly impossible to fully clean out. I spent some amount of time, I do mean some amount of time, cleaning out my first inking of one and then letting it dry out overnight, and I still had what most people would call a dirty fill. So I had a transitional time where the blue I put in was greatly affected by the black I had initially put in them. Being that they are vintage, you do want to kind of go gingerly with what ink you choose. I have heard that Japanese inks tend to be a little bit gentler on the old filling systems. There is of course the Waterman's Mystery Man Blue, which is the pretty much all-time most voted for to be vintage fountain pen friendly. I don't currently own a bottle of it. I'm really thinking about it now, but I have some other inks that I'm trying out. Currently, I have, and I think it's this one, Pilot Namiki Blue, which I got from my all-time favorite Pilot Custom A23 when I got that, and I decided to put it in my green pen. My little one still has some black, or maybe it's vice versa. I forgot which one has what ink in it right now, but we'll get into that in just a second. A closer comparison for the shorter Model J is a Kaweco. A Kaweco Sport is about the size close. It's actually a little bit shorter because it's meant to be capped. While the short Model J here, you can write with uncapped. Mind you, it is for smaller hands. You could see comparing it to something like this right here, being a Lamy kind of Safari. This is the Luxe in Rose Gold, is still quite a bit larger than either of those pens combined, and still has more girth as well. Now the actual pen itself, that is very close in size to the fully capped Model J full size. So just a quick comparison there of size of different things. Those are not, so all those pens are not currently being reviewed or talked about or anything like that. Even these, I wouldn't call it a review on the pen so much as it is the local vendor that Anemoia has access to. They are able to actively and currently constantly get in new vintage Model J's and other vintage Esterbrooks and refurbish them, and then they're available through Anemoia, is what is important. I will say that this is something I've been trying to get into, trying to wrap my head around. What will it take to get a vintage pen that works for less than $250? Now, the Esterbrooks are not 14K gold unless you're looking for a very specific nib. There are 14K nibs, but they are a lot rarer, and they usually come with a pretty premium price tag because of their rarity. And they're not necessarily going to be your extra fine, or even a medium. Most of them are something that are more acquainted like a special size stub nib, which is something that was kind of special back then. Now, how light are these? I'm about to tell you. The full-size model is, according to my scale, weighing in at only 15.5 capped. So you're looking at closer to maybe 10 grams capped. That is feather light. That is something that no modern pen really has. And the shorter one is 12.5 capped, so it's probably somewhere around the 6 or 7 grams uncapped. Now, what do I have in each of these? I was able to select what nib I wanted them to put in it before it was filled. My long one has the extra fine, but this is a smooth, extra firm, extra fine, and so as a result, it writes very smooth without the toothiness that most of us are acquainted to in modern times with our extra fine nibs. Most of the time you get an extra fine in any model pen, it's going to feel like you're writing with an absolute needle of a pen. This feels closer in smoothness and roundness to something like a medium. It is fine, but it's not really grabbing and digging into your paper, which is very desirable. And on top of it, it has the lesser weight. Now this one is kind of an ink leacher, and as you can see, once I roll it back around forward, the top of it, right there, you could see it. Let me zoom in for everyone, get a little bit clearer view. There we go. So this one over here, my short version, has a less than 1.1 stub. Again, this is something that vintage pens did a long time ago, like back in the 60s and 70s. They had stub nibs that still had the broader cross and slim, like horizontal, but less than 1.1. 1.1 was not the standard back then, and so they made some that weren't. And that's what I chose for my shorter version. Some people will probably choose the opposite, that way they had the more ink capacity. For whatever reason, I decided to make my short one the one that bled through ink more, and the long one have my workhorse. I will say this one with the extra firm round fine, which let me see if I can get that in view a little bit better, right there. So it is what is classified as a green, a green collared nib. So it's their premium edition. And it's worth it. I do feel like for the extra couple bucks that you will typically find them for anymore, they do offer a premium writing experience compared to their normal ones. And that was the case back then, it's still the case now. And you just have to find someone that's taken the time to clean up and usually polish the nibs back to where they need to be. Finding them online, sometimes they're a little bit rusted, sometimes they're pitted. You need to find someone that's taken the time, or take the time yourself, to really polish them back up to a premium writing quality. You don't want to really mess with, what was really great. So finding someone that knows how to restore all these things, worth its weight in gold and worth the time to find. Now, we've covered the majority of what does a vintage pen look like, and how much were these? They were about $75 a piece. And that's true even for the short one. That's just, they have kind of a set price from this person, and so they offer kind of a set price in return, and so they're offered to get more into the hands of the community that really wants to get into it. Some of the ink brands that Anemoia offers is like right here, and it's not maybe the best viewpoint, but it's best for you guys, is right here. They do have Wearingold ink is one of 2 major brands they offer. And this is the Dark Dream, which is a very sparkly black. It's a very dark color. Love it. I did get the Plague by them as well, but that's more of a plain black, and I was kind of featuring some of their glimmering inks today. And they still have, I believe, more than a few bottles of this left over, which is their own custom branded from Dominant Industries ink, which would be Anemoia Borealis. So it's going to have that much shimmer there at the bottom. I mean, it really stands out on your page. It's kind of that black and green look to it. Very cool. And pretty much what I've been into for a while is almost every bottle of ink and writing accessory that reminds me of potion bottles and that kind of theme. So I myself have quite the number of either Endless Alchemy or the Dominant Industries bottles. Wearingold I have a little bit less of, but they have a unique color brand. That's kind of the things I got into with Anemoia Mercantile, as since they specialize in so much Dominant Industries and I'd heard so many good things about them, that is one of the brands I really invested into. I have, I don't know, probably 5, 6, maybe 8, upwards of 8 colors now from them, including their own custom color. Now, what I'm about to show you is another step backwards into the past, and I'm going to start with this tray right here. Now this tray right here, let me zoom back out once I get that put down. There we go. Let me get some of these pens out of view into a nearby pen cup. Sorry for any clicking and clacking. Alright, so what do we have? Dipping pens. This is a further step back in time. The joy of it is 90% of all nibs that you get that are dipping nibs are flex. So you have a vast amount of line variation that you get from the downstroke to the cross stroke, the amount of pressure you apply, sometimes the angle. There's no feed, so it's only what gets held on the nibs. So what did some of them do? They came up with something that was kind of in between. Let me see if I could get it in focus here for you. I think that does it right there. So something like this, you could just see that spring in my viewpoint, so I think you'll be able to see it in the video. So several of these, and this right here, they've come up with a type of spring or coil underneath the nib itself that holds just a little bit more ink and maybe kind of has a little bit resistance to the ink flow out of the top of these nibs. So on a dipping pen, you have a holder that looks something like this, and in it you have just the nib collar that you pretty much just press into there. And there you have it. So it's just kind of like a slit in that upper area that the nibs just slip into. So having something like that and a bottle of ink meant for it gets you about maybe 2 sentences of flow that are very specially characterized to your hand pressure, the nib, and what type of paper you're using. So much like with fountain pens, you need fountain pen friendly paper. More so you're going to be going with something like vellum, heavier paper, something that resists the ink going through it as much, because you're putting down a lot of ink with a dipping nib. So here we came up with a collection of different type of nibs that vary in their usage, and we used a type of system to identify which ones we had. That way going forward, if we found new nibs, we would know what we already had and what would be new to get. One of the things that I early on in my fountain pen adventure decided is that if I get anything new, it needed to be a new writing experience. Well, let me tell you folks, there's nothing newer than old. So every single nib writes different, has a different amount of pressure to flex, offers a different writing experience. There is nothing the same between any of these nibs. Even though some of them look very similar, not one of them is actually similar at all. They all do different things, they all have different amounts of flex, and they all put different amounts of ink down. Now, some of these like this up here, my zebras, they are beyond good in my experience. They write the smoothest, they write some of the best, most consistent, and they have a lot of flex. But even between different brands of zebra, something like from here to here, still going to be very different. They have some different level of flex depending on pressure. You have some over here that are just meant to hold more and have a lot less flex. Some of these little ones all the way back on the other side, they're a little bit more for drawing, which is where one of our other members comes in. He likes drawing, so they usually have dipping pens, but they're a little bit less flex, almost no flex. However, they do have an exceedingly fine, very stable point on them. They hold various amounts of ink. Down here, I have some of my replacement nibs for everything from my my Twisbees to my Asvines and the nibs for those. So a good organizer for some of the accessories that I already had. Now, this is one type of holder. They have ones that have the actual nib holder over and then at an angle. That would be what they call an oblique holder. And I have one of those as well. I won't be featuring it today though. I'm just going over some of the basics. Last but not least, one of the most varied things that they offer is this right here. Let me get some of these other things out of our viewpoint and we can talk about what kind of stationery they offer. This is just a quick assortment of things that they have. So like if you're writing a letter, you have, let me zoom out. So you have the date that you can circle up here, month, and then day, and then a broad area. You could put a little stamp down here and fill it in with your ink. Or if you're not looking for something that's closer to the 8.5 by 11, they do have regular stationery cards and envelopes, all very high quality, very premium paper, very thick, very luxury and vintage feel to it, very much in line with the Anemoia theme they have going on. So overall, if you are looking for a very well put together shop that has a lot of ink, lets you kind of test and experiment the inks before you buy it so you know what color it is, different writing options, you know, different things, either vintage or modern, they have both there. The fact that I chose vintage, you don't have to. They have some Twisby offerings, they have some Lamia offerings. I would look at both if you're missing one for your own set to write with. Both are solid writing options. I have my own preferences. I'm sure many of you have your own as well. And usually most people agree having either some Lamia or some Twisby is a good go-to, especially in your everyday carry where maybe you don't want to ruin one of your best pens and nibs. Having a good set of stationery allows you to share that writing experience with friends across the country, across the world, have your favorite letters delivered in your handwriting personalized to them. Another Anemoia type of thing to have. Writing letters, memos, notes to different people, corresponding between each other in an old-fashioned way, giving you that sense of nostalgia. It's just one more way Anemoia lives up to its name. They do have craft goods stuff there. As I went over in my review video, they have crafting goods stuff there. So they have something for everyone, even if fountain pens aren't your thing. But that is why I went there. I recommend going there as well. If you have been there, tell me what was your favorite thing that you got there. What did you purchase? And would you go there again and recommend it? Let me know in the comments, how do you feel? Well guys, that's it for today. Have a good one.